Hello and welcome back to another refreshing session of history. As we have been discussing, the importance of history has been increasing day by day. There are a lot of current affairs, and again we are seeing that day and another every day topics that are important for current affairs as well as they evolved through the history are coming into the news. And another such topic is history of US aid to India. Now, what is US aid? Right, first we'll see the relevance of the topic. Recently there has been a lot of buzz, a lot of news regarding USAID. Why? From when are we seeing this? From the moment Trump got elected. In the US, in the recent elections, we have seen that Donald Trump has won with a majority, with a thumping majority. He has come back as the President of United States of America. And during his election campaigns, he promised a lot. He went for addressing the various economic challenges of America. And one of his main concern was expenses, limiting the expenditure of America. Now, what are the Trump's enemies? Where does he want to limit expenditure? How he wants to make America great again? Because that was his slogan that we have been seeing, right? So, who are the enemies? The first thing is illegal immigrants. Yes, fine. Okay, that can be understood, but why US aid? Another most important enemy of Trump is US aid. Why US aid is so much important and why it has become to be treated as enemy of Trump? Why he wants to stop it? So these are the reasons will lead to the next point called as what is US aid? What is US aid? It's simply United States assistance for international development, right? See, after the World War II, United States wanted to involve more and more in various countries, and it also as a elder brotherly attitude, or as a superpower, we can say, it wanted to help different countries, because after the war, Second World War, we see USA emerged as one of the superpowers. Therefore, it started this particular organization, United States Assistance for International Development. And what is it for? It is for disaster relief. It is for diseases or controlling diseases. It is for peace. It is for prosperity. It is for progress of various countries. Under this particular US aid, US government has funded, the main thing is funding. The US government has funded various projects in various countries. It is one of the US government's charity arm, the official charity arm of the US government, through which it has initiated a lot of missions in 130 plus countries. 130 plus countries. USAID is working in all these countries. A lot of funding is being given for various development projects, for disease control and for various things. Then it takes to the next topic. Recently, we have seen in news that Trump is suspending this particular activity. Trump wants to suspend it and he already suspended. We'll see why suspension. Recently in news we have seen that Trump wants to suspend this particular US aid and all its activities. He actually went for a temporary suspension, that is 90 days, complete suspension of all the funding to 130 plus countries that was happening. Now, during it remains temporarily suspended, what Trump is doing, he is decreasing the size of this particular organization. He is making it impossible to work. He is reducing the number of employees who are working in these organizations. What we see is around 10,000 people of workforce is being reduced to only around 290. Why this much suspension? Why is this suspension happening? And now you see who is tasked with this particular suspension. There are two things. So first, if you see why Trump wants to cut government spending. Trump wants to restrict the deep government. What is deep government? Or we can say the deep state. A lot of bureaucracy getting more involved in the state. Bureaucracy getting the dominant position. So Trump wants to restrict the powers of bureaucracy. And as usual, he wants to make America great again. That was his campaign slogan. Or he wants to control a lot of crores and billions of dollars funding that is going to various countries. He wants to save this money for America. He don't want to give any aid. Now, who has he tasked with? Now, we all very well know the name, that is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the main person behind the SpaceX. The success of SpaceX in recent past has made Elon Musk a billionaire. And this billionaire, we have seen, he also sided with Trump during election. He supported Trump's election campaign. And now, once when Trump has won the election, he has appointed this particular person, Elon Musk, as the chief of DOGE. What is DOGE? Department of Government Efficiency. Department of. So, he is the main person behind it. He calls USAID as a scrap. He is the main person who is going for this particular downsizing of the people who are working in this USAID. He wants to restrict funding. And now, when he and Trump on one side wants to suspend this particular USAID, what are the opposition parties in America saying? See, they are saying that by cutting USAID, their influence overseas, their presence overseas, which they have built for so many long years, the strong presence they have built in various countries, they could lose their presence. They could lose their control overseas. That's what proponents, like the proponents of USAID say, the supporters of USAID say. And they are against the loss of employment because a lot of people in this are being unemployed. A lot of projects are being stopped. Now this leads us to the next topic, that is a big tool. What is big tool? USAID. How it's big tool? It is used in foreign policy. See, as the proponents of this particular USAID are saying that they lose control internationally, they lose control overseas. That is what we can say. The USAID was for the past many decades was used as a foreign policy tool. It was used to intervene in various governments, in various countries, the political affairs. It was used to intervene in political affairs of various countries, meddling. It was used to further the agenda of US after the Second World War, during the Cold War, and all these years we see US has a lot of interest in different countries. And USAID has been the primary tool, the primary foreign policy tool through which they have been furthering their own interests in various countries. So what we see here, USAID is not actually a charity arm. It's actually a tool for US politics in the international affairs. And therefore, we see that this has an immense importance. It has built up in the past. It has built up a very strong presence in various countries. It has been influencing various protest movements in various countries, which are in the interest of US. So it's, USAID has been even criticized. There's the other side of USAID. Apart from being a foreign policy tool, apart from being a charity arm, it also funded radicals. It also funded various protests in different countries. So these are the criticisms it has on it. And therefore, why Trump want to abandon it? He's taking that risk. He wants to, secure the funds of America. He don't want to waste a single rupee on other person's development, a single dollar on the development of other countries without America being benefited. So he wants to make this particular USAID, which is just an agency, he wants to make this agency a part of a department of US government. But making it a department of US government is going to be very long because he has to have the congressional approval. The US Congress, what we say as a parliament in India is called as Congress in USA. So the US Congress has to allow him, they have to pass an act allowing president to do so, but that is not happening in the short distance that we see. And therefore, he is downsizing this entire thing. He is taking the risk. That is his policy. Now, we'll see USAID and India. While US was developing, while US was investing in various countries through USAID, what had it done to India? Was it presence in India? What is the history of USAID to India? So, once India got independence in 1947, we see from 1951 onwards, USAID started coming to India. So, more than 70 years of USAID coming to India. And what was this aid for? It was this aid for development of India. It was the aid for controlling diseases. It was the aid for peace, for progress, for prosperity. And various schemes like we can say immunization, polio, HIV, fighting AIDS, fighting tuberculosis, disease control, social infrastructure, society upliftment. So for all these different things, US has been providing funds to India as a part of its assistance program. And now we'll see the different phases. So once US is investing in India, now we'll see the various phases in which US, was investing in India. The moment India got independence, like during 1950s, what we see is they have come up with some program called as a scheme called as PL 480. The PL 480 scheme was for distribution of food grains. They were sending food grains to India. See, the moment India got independence, we were one of the poorest countries in the world. We were facing a lot of malnutrition. There was a huge problem of hunger in India. A lot of people were unable to feed themselves. Even India, or the agricultural output in India was unable to feed its people. It was not sufficient. So India had to take aid. India accepted the aid from US under the scheme PL 480, whereby food grains were given to India at a concessional rate, at a cheaper rate. They were shipped to India. Therefore, this particular time was also called a ship-to-mouth economy. Then later on phases, we see in 1960s. In 1960s, we see US is also cooperating India in development of its agriculture, because food security is the most important problem. It's not they who are prioritizing, it's we who are prioritizing. Now, we wanted agricultural development, therefore, we invested a lot in high yielding variety, which led to green revolution, which made India self-sufficient. But again, during this process, US aid was also present. US also supported India in this particular effort, in establishing agricultural universities, in establishing IITs, in establishing various regional engineering colleges. During the period, US was there, US assistance was there, US aid was there. But again, at the same time, we have to consider that it was used as a big tool of foreign policy. What was the foreign policy? Why US was giving aid to India? What were the reasons? If we see the geopolitics of that particular period, during 1950s, India was a very new nation, right? And US, we see that the post Second World War world, or the Cold War era, was having a bipolar world, whereby capitalism and socialism has evolved as two different poles. So China, being a communist country, was very close to socialism, was a socialistic country. US wanted to decrease the influence of communist China in the southern Asian countries. So because it wants to decrease the effect of communist China, it has seen India as a natural partner, making India more stronger, because India was democratic. Making the democratic India more stronger would help US in countering the communist China. But at the same time, India followed the non-alignment policy. We didn't go into the capitalist camp, neither we went into the socialist camp. We followed a mixed economic model, whereby slowly US started distancing India. US started going more close and close to Pakistan. Because of such things, we see in the later period, US aid is decreasing to India. Even though they supported us in high yielding varieties, even though they supported in all these things, all this was with a half-hearted approach. But still, India relied on developing indigenous technologies, indigenous universities, and this was the aim for India. So, during 70s, it invested in India in irrigation, in fertilizers, developing India's network of irrigation and giving more and more fertilizers to India, or the fertilizing technology to India, whereby the green revolution can be taken much more forward. Then in the 80s, we see US aid coming to India, and in its immunization programs, the sterilization program, it also helped in family planning. And 90s, we see the reforms, economic reforms. Throughout this period, during 70s and 80s, even 60s, if we see, India was constantly in fight with Pakistan. The 1965 India-Pakistan war, the 1971 India-Pakistan war, where Bangladesh was born as an independent nation. And during this period, where we had India-Pakistan war, and at the same time, we had the Cold War was also going on between USA and USSR. So in these conditions, even though US aid came to India, it came with its own interests. It wanted to influence the policy of India, but India was not adamant to it. India was not accepting to it. After 90s, we see all the USAID was focused on economic reforms in India.